Coffee. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Today is Saturday, May 9th. And if you're new to these broadcasts, my name is Paco. And we get together here every morning, 10 o'clock, 10:30, live. And we share news and headlines from places near and far as they affect our life here in Puerto Vallarta. We connect with one another to make sure that everybody's doing okay. We exchange ideas, tips, suggestions to better enjoy ourselves and remain inspired and nurtured during these days. It is always great to see you. It is always great to see people coming back every morning. But if you happen to be new to these broadcasts, please type the word new in your comments so that we can give you the proper welcome. And if you're catching the broadcast later on in the day, please feel free to leave your comments as well, as we always take a look at them during the day, make sure that we acknowledge as many of them as we can. My name is Paco, and we've been doing this for a little bit over a month, and we've been having a really good time connecting, and we intend to continue doing this for a while. I see some of our familiar faces start popping in. Kathleen, good morning. Jeremiah, great to see you. Coffee time indeed, Claudette, Craig, Darlene, Joey, it's so good to see you too. Chris, great to see you. Sean, Edgar, I'm so glad you're here because today I'm going to talk about you and your performance tonight. Julie, great to see you. Stacy and Barbara, we will continue saying hello to all of you as I see your beautiful faces popping up in the chat. So today is Saturday. And not too long ago, it was Monday, and not too long ago, we were thinking of Monday songs or songs with the word Monday in the title. And this morning, I woke up thinking about Saturday songs, and I wonder how many Saturday songs you know. I did some research, and there's quite a few of them, but two specific songs came to mind. Admittedly, it's because those are the songs that I happen to remember. The first one is, and if you know these songs, you'll pretty much tell me your age range. So let's take a look at Saturday songs. This is the first one that came to mind, Saturday in the Park. This is such an awesome song. It was composed by lead vocalist for the band Chicago, Robert Lamb, and this was recorded back in 1972 for their album Chicago 5. And I don't know if you remember this song, but it was such an awesome song. The first the first four bars of the song have this really rocking, solid piano groove that just feels like everything's going to be okay. I mean, it's just a great song. I'm going to put a link to it so you can find it. And again, the first four bars is a piano that sounds like it's going to tell you a really great story. What kind of story? Well, the next four bars, the trombone section, as it was characteristic of the band to have trombones in the group, which was actually really groovy. I mean, this was a rock band, and they had trombones. I mean, it was so awesome. Anyhow, first four bars, groovy piano. Next four bars, pretty much telling us, well, what kind of song is this going to be? It's going to be really relaxed. So enough about that. I see a couple of other songs. Paul mentioned Saturday Night's All Right by Elton John. That's another good one. I didn't think about that one specifically, but Sean O'Brien, oh my God, Sean O'Brien caught my guilty pleasure. And take a look at that. I mean, who are these guys? Who remembers these guys? They are the Bay City Rollers. They were a Scottish pop rock band. They were referred to as the Tartan Teen Sensation from Edinburgh. And they recorded this song Saturday night, just months after Chicago did their song. And both songs went up in the charts. Of course, the big difference is that Saturday in the Park became one of many, many, many hits by the band Chicago. And these guys, God bless them, they got a lot of points for effort, but even though they had a few minor hits, they essentially became cataloged as a one-hit wonder band. If this was 1973, I was 11, and I distinctly remember having not sexual feelings for them because I don't know that I had figured that part yet, but I do remember being drawn to their outfits and thinking, well, that's kooky. And and it's kind of sexy, but not really. Anyhow, yeah, I was 11 when this happened. Anyhow, um, oh, Paul, really? Paul says they have coronavirus hairdo. Oh, your coronavirus hairdo. Is this what you look like, Paul? If that is the case, please take a selfie and send it to us so we can share it with everybody. Anyhow, it's Saturday songs. You know, if we ever do Sunday songs, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of great songs for other days of the week. But anyhow, I woke up thinking Saturday in the park, and today when I have to go to Walmart, chances are that that is the song that I'm going to choose to be playing in the car. It's going to put me in a good mood because um, what can I say? Going out with face mask, as much as I try to psych myself up for it, it's not my ideal scenario. I mean, we all have to do what we have to do, but it's not fun. It's not fun. But you know, it's what we do. It's what we do to stay healthy, to protect ourselves, and to protect others from ourselves. Let's take a look at some of the headlines today. Of course, starting with the important stuff, the number of cases in Puerto Vallarta, it continues to rise. Puerto Vallarta continues to be in the second place of cases and deaths by COVID-19 in Jalisco. There are 94 cases in Puerto Vallarta with 7 deaths. Of course, again, the news are very good at telling you what the local scenario is, and but not very good to give us a perspective of that. And the perspective of that is that even though the number of cases has increased in Puerto Vallarta, the number of cases in the state of Jalisco is much lower compared to many states in the country. So it is always good to keep these things in perspective. Moving on to the next headline. Of all the cases that have been confirmed in Puerto Vallarta, our Mayor Davalos has confirmed that there are 5 cases that are city hall employees or city employees. This is unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate that everybody is vulnerable to this. But of course, when city officials, meaning members of the staff force of the city who have been, have had to continue to work despite the stay-at-home guideline, it is unfortunate to see that some of them are now with COVID-19. We hope and wish the best to them and to anybody that is going through the disease. We also learn that there was an article apparently published by the New York Times in which they hint at the fact, or they claim that based on informants that Mexico is hiding numbers about COVID-19, and needless to say, this made the government of Mexico a little ruffled. The way I understand the reporting of numbers, and this has been explained a number of times in the daily press conferences that Hugo Lopez Gatell provides every day, is hospitals all over the country are given a user ID and password to report the number of cases, the number of deaths, and also the number of cases that have recovered. And these numbers get tabulated automatically. Where the New York Times gets this idea that there are cases that are being deliberately concealed is a mystery to me. Is everybody that has COVID-19 going to the hospital? Probably not. There might be some people that are that have caught the disease, and for whatever reason they choose not to go, or they die at home, and I don't know. The bottom line is Mexico. The Mexican government was not so keen on this particular article. We also read sad news from Mexico News Daily. They report that coronavirus has closed 30,000 restaurants permanently. These are restaurants that have been so hit by the pandemic that it is unlikely that they will be able to reopen. This is very sad news, but this is something that is shared by many small businesses. The article tells us that only 20% of the nation's 635,788 dining establishments remain open for takeout and delivery, and sales have dropped more than 85%. Again, we hope that once we are able to start lifting some restrictions, that the restaurants will be um, quick to recover, at least those that are able to remain open or that are able to remain on standby during this very difficult period. Local hotels continue to make plans or strategize as to how they visualize the opportunity to reopen. Um, Hotels, this headline from Contralinea tell us that they're working on a uh, by two promotion, meaning that if you stay for 3 nights, you only pay for two. This is just one of the strategies that the hotels want to implement. Now we know that the hotels in our state are hoping to reopen by the month of June, and they hope to have very special, very attractive offers during the months of June, July, and August. Um, and again, this will be promoted as El Buen Mes or the Good Month. The president of the Hotel Association in Puerto Vallarta, Alvaro Garcia Arce, insisted that the reactivation campaign for the summer must include the basic notion that this is a coronavirus free destination, and that that the hotels are working with protocols that are designed for the visitors or tourists to also follow. Opinion, and this is just me. I have to make a comment on this only because we've been trying to stay on the more informed side of things. Um, I don't know that we're going to have a future in the near future in which we're going to be completely free of the virus. For me, when I read these kinds of things, I can only hope that the hotels will take all the precautions that are necessary for people to feel a certain level of confidence in taking trips and going places. But I've stayed at very fine hotels every now and then, and even at the finest hotels, sometimes you walk into the bathroom and there'll be a mosquito standing there somewhere in the corner. So, will hotels ever be free of the virus? Will Puerto Vallarta ever be free of the virus? Will any place in the world? Well, that's not for us to decide, unfortunately. All I can say is, and this is just my very personal point of view, is I hope that as businesses start opening, businesses will be mindful of the health and well being of their staff, for starters, and then they will be mindful of the health and well being of the visitors or the people that cater to their businesses. I certainly hope that Puerto Vallarta is able to start receiving tourism and that restaurants continue to start opening. I keep reading about restaurants that are starting to reopen. Yesterday, I read online that the Blue Shrimp has opened for business again. And I read it in one of the local boards in which there were some people that were excited and there were some people that were, cautious about it. And as we've discovered before and we've commented, there will be some people that are just eager to go out there, and there will be some people that will be more cautious. If you ask me, if you give me a swimming pool to go take a dip in, oh dear, chances are that I'm going to go and enjoy it because I miss going into a swimming pool. Anyhow, enough of my commentary. Let's continue taking a look at some of these headlines, and we'll get to your reactions in a second. Um, the virus is in the House, and by that I mean the White House. Apparently, Pence staffer, there's a staffer of Mike Pence's um, team, Katie Miller. She's the wife of Stephen Miller, and she has COVID 19. And apparently, there are a number of people in the West Wing that are exposed. We also learn that Ivanka Trump's personal assistant has reportedly tested positive for the coronavirus. I think I read somewhere yesterday, or maybe I was watching television, that President Trump got tested again and he tested negative. But it must be unnerving to know that the virus is close. And and one needs to be cautious of that. I certainly hope that all these people that are testing positive are taking care of themselves and are taking all the necessary measures so that the possibility of spreading the virus is reduced to a minimum, if not at all. A few days ago, you asked about coronavirus testing at home, and come on, piece of news, show up on my screen. There you are. Can one get a coronavirus test at home or not? Well, the FDA in the United States has authorized an at home spit test for the coronavirus, but this is not the kind of thing in which you can just go to the supermarket, get a test, do it at home. The article dives into the detail of how this is not possible yet, and this will not be possible for some time. But eventually, I would imagine that we can consider a future in which we will be able to do this um, in one way or another. We also hear from Wired Magazine, ways to stay calm and relaxed during the quarantine. I glanced at this article and I liked it because it absolutely talks about things we can do at home. For those of us that are generally anxious people, things that we can do at home, tips on how to create a sanctuary, add some aromatherapy, and so forth and so on. If your space is becoming a little crowded, both physically or emotionally for you, try burning some incense, try using some scented oils. There are all kinds of things that you can do. And Greatest, which is a website that I follow because it has a lot of tips on well being, particularly for women, but just tips in general. This website, this article shows us 13 ways to stay connected um, if you are depressed from coronavirus. And again, I glanced at this and it shows some great solutions and suggestions that we can all follow. Let's take a look at what you're up to. Ryan asks, does my car have an 8-track? It doesn't, but I remember 8-tracks. My car has an MP3 player, and we love that. Um, do I think we can have confidence in the numbers coming out of the Mexican government? Says Sherry. I think we can, Sherry. I think we can. For better or worse, this is the system that we have. I trust the system. Again, I trust the system because I have watched many of the conferences that Hugo Lopez Gatell has offered to the public, and he speaks in a way that makes sense. He is always coherent. He always backs his statements, and he always has a coherent answer for people that need one. And I respect that very much. And I choose to follow the numbers and believe them because I know that if I didn't, I would have such a level of anxiety that it would be detrimental to my health. Um, Happy Saturday, Christy. It's always great to see you. Claude Chanette, who's a retired medical professional, tells us it's impossible to have a COVID free hotel. We know that to be the case. So I know I have friends that own hotels. Paul Christ is in the house, and I know that Paul is not aspiring to have a COVID free hotel. I think what hotels and restaurants can and should do is show specific actions that can give us, the consumers, enough confidence to go to their spaces. We've had this conversation before, and we're going to continue talking about it because it makes perfect sense. If you show me and you tell me what you think in your comments, if I walk into a restaurant that tells me um, this is a COVID free restaurant, I'm not necessarily going to buy it. But if I walk into a restaurant that shows me a little piece on the menu or a piece of paper or a leaflet or something that shows me these are 10 steps that we take every day to ensure that you are going to have a safe experience here, that's a completely different story. So I am sure that the Hotel Association is smarter than just saying, we have to tell people that Puerto Vallarta is COVID free. I am sure that they're smarter than that, and I am sure that they're going to come up with campaigns that make sense in an effort to give us the confidence that we need. Um, we'll need an efficacious vaccine. Is that even a word, Elaine? Efficacious? That sounds like something Mary Poppins would say. If it is a real word, I'm going to include it in my vocabulary. I like it. We certainly need an efficacious vaccine, because it's the bottom line. I mean, we're going to need to be able to trace and track whether we have the disease or not. December 1st, more realistic reopening for hotels. Well, Dot, we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what the government says. I don't know that the hotels will want to wait until then. I know it's a balance thing, some people wanting to open as soon as possible because of economic reasons, other people wanting to stay cautious. Ultimately, we as consumers have the final say in whether we want to go out or not. It will make very little sense for a hotel or a restaurant or a business to open if there are not enough clients that are willing to go and cater to these places. Southwest Airlines will resume flights October 1st. This is good to know. Paul tells us that he sent a list of changes and cleaning protocols for Hotel Mercurio to his manager, and they continue to dialogue, and they anticipate opening in June. We wish you the very best, of course. Hello, Jamie. We have another visitor. It's nice to see you again, Diane. Look at New York Times article today on Mexico COVID. Gail, if you can share the link with us, that would be much appreciated. I will look for it anyway. Oh, that's very funny. I'm sorry, that is funny. I hope you guys find this humorous as I do. Would you like to sit in the COVID section or non-COVID section? I love it. COVID-free, sugar-free, gluten-free, says Edgar. Can't protect against asymptomatic carriers. This is true. There won't be hotels to open if they can't open until December. This is a good point. Again, it's the same situation. Right now, I believe there's only 2 or 3 hotels that are open in Puerto Vallarta, and I believe this is only for medical personnel. I am not sure that that is the case. Most Canadian airlines have released travel dates from Canada to PVR in October. This is probably true. In fact, Jamie, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. But again, we need to be mindful of the fact that the path the pandemic has taken has been progressive. It first started in China, then it moved to Europe, then it moved to North America, and it's continued to progress down to South America. So when we see news of things happening in other countries, they're not necessarily going to relate immediately to Mexico, just because we are on a different time frame as far as the progression of the disease is concerned. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that Edgar Sánchez is in the house, because Edgar Sánchez is a very dear friend of mine. He works at a local restaurant called Seasons PV, but when he's not doing his Seasons PV thing, Edgar has a little stage persona, and her name is Miss Bibi. Now, Miss Bibi entertains in Spanish, but I have to applaud Edgar because he's gone live a couple of times, and he goes live from one of the rooms in his apartment. I've seen the room, it's tiny, and he manages to gather such an awesome group of people to watch him. Edgar, I admire because he is very young, and yet he is a living encyclopedia of music from the 80s and the 90s. And I'm going to give you a little taste of Miss Bibi because this is what he published to promote his performance tonight.
Cariños, los espero este sábado 9 en el Facebook Live. Canciones de cuarentena para cuarentonas. Ahí los espero. Uy.
Ooh, he says. And of course, that's not the way his voice sounds. I think his voice is being manipulated through some sort of device. But I tell you, you have to see Edgar. I will put the link on the show notes. If you don't speak Spanish, you won't understand a thing of what he's saying. But what should be really praised about someone like him and anybody that has the cojones to come live is he manages to retain audience. I am always grateful. I look at how the numbers are for this daily broadcast, and the vast majority of you come in at the beginning and stay online through the entire broadcast, and then just leave it once the program is over. For those of us that work in social media, this is called retention. And what it means is that if people are willing to stick around for the duration of a program, there must be something good going on. And I've seen Edgar retain a lot of people in his broadcasts, and everybody or anybody that is doing live broadcast should be paying attention to these kinds of details. Again, that's my shameless plug for him. And of course, I couldn't do a shameless plug for him without mentioning that our very own Kim Kuzma is going to do her Mother's Day special, I call it, tomorrow night on her Facebook page. She's on at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, and 9 p.m. I don't know what ADT stands for, but it is happening tomorrow. Don't forget to tune to that. Let me see if we have any new interesting comments from you. Edgar laughs because we showed his little bit. Stop by Seasons PV. It is one of the restaurants that is, as I understand it, not open to the public, but they're doing takeout. Edgar is there. Say hello to him and get a good picture of his face, and then go see him live tonight, because he is one of the young performers in this city that I admire so very much. I was wondering about your retention and how long you have been doing this podcast, and if you will continue after Puerto Vallarta opens up again. Stacy, we started on March 31st, which is the day in which things started getting serious for the pandemic. I'm very, very grateful that there's a very good retention here. Most of you stay through the whole program. The number of likes on my Facebook page has increased dramatically. The number of people that subscribe to my free newsletter has increased dramatically. And perhaps most important, the number of you who trust the content that I provide enough to buy a subscription to keep these programs going on forward is absolutely humbling. The number of you who have chosen to buy me a coffee, which you can do once or twice, you can buy me a coffee, and that's a small contribution. But then there's those of you who have paid for an annual subscription, and that means a lot to me, because you are anticipating that I will be producing this moving forward for at least a year. And of course, I'm going to continue doing that as long as we're on the subject. Right now, of course, a lot of what we're doing here with Coffee and Headlines is from my humble apartment. But needless to say, as businesses start reopening, a lot of what we're going to do is go out and about. You know, if we can go live in the morning, there's no reason why we couldn't go live from Kimixto, or go live from a restaurant, or go live from a real estate office. And there's no reason why the interviews that we're doing cannot happen live. For me, I've been blessed to be living in Puerto Vallarta for almost 20 years. Since the beginning of my time here, I was blessed to work at a publishing company, where my main job was to find and create and nurture connections between the population and the destination. So are we going to continue to do this? You bet we are. As long as you can stand me, as long as you continue to offer all the wonderful suggestions that you've given me for each and every one of these programs, we will continue to do this. The wonderful thing about Puerto Vallarta is that no matter where you look, there's always somebody wonderful. There is always something wonderful that we have not yet explored. The day we run out of things to talk about, well, it will be the day that we are COVID free, I suppose. There's always going to be something to talk about. So this is only possible because of you and your continued support, which again means the world to me. How can you support? Again, consider buying a coffee. How can you support? Consider inviting others to join us by sharing the programs. Consider checking some of the links that I share with you on the show notes. The more you spread, the more you enable me to be of service to you and the rest of the community. So with those thoughts in mind, we're going to say goodbye for the time being. I think today has been a wonderful day. We didn't have a guest today, but this was a great week. We had 3 live guests this week. And we are going to continue to look for interesting people in members of the community to come in and share their knowledge, their expertise, and their inspiration with us. If you have any suggestions, feel free to let me know. If you think you'd be a great person to come and talk about something, don't be shy. Don't be shy. The wonderful thing about our community is that all of us have something wonderful about ourselves that other people have not yet discovered. I invite you to explore that within yourself. I invite you to bring that out of people you know. And as always, I invite you to have a great day today. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay inspired, stay creative, and stay out of harm. And hopefully, I will see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day.